When was the last time you talked to your mother or told her that you love her? Has it been a while? Well, let's surprise Mom with flowers. Mother's Day's coming up on Sunday, May 10th, and JustFlowers.com can help you find the perfect gift for your mom. That's JUSTFlowers.com, or you can call us at 1-844-896-8752 and use coupon code BLOGTALKRADIO to save $5 on your order. Again, that's 1-844-896-8752 or JustFlowers.com. And use coupon code BLOGTALKRADIO to save $5 on your order.
Mysteries abound around the world, from strange lights in the night sky to ghostly apparitions passing from one realm to the next. From the great pyramids of Egypt to what lies beneath the depths of Loch Ness. From Bigfoot to Atlantis, they are all mysteries waiting to be solved. Join Laurie Phillips, Lauren Smith, Graz, and Billy Simmons as they search for the truth on Night Callers Radio. Good evening and welcome to Night Callers Bigfoot Radio. It is April 30th, 2015, and you're here with the usual crew. I think we're still waiting on our guest to call in. So go ahead and say, today in history, Adolf Hitler committed suicide, and the first federal prison for women was opened, and Willie Nelson was born, and the marijuana content of the entire world was decreased.
Woohoo! Well, thank you for that little tidbit of information.
Anyway, so how are y'all doing?
Doing great.
Great.
Doing good.
Yeah, everybody was real feisty before the intermission, and now everybody's like, we're great.
I know.
Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, I'm okay.
Bill.
How'd you do?
Oh, the
What?
show starts and Bill goes and hides in the corner again. So
I'm not hiding, believe me.
I'm still all froggy until now.
Oh, trust me. Trust me, I'm ready to jump at any moment. I'm good to go.
That's what I hear, and then nothing.
She's complaining I was getting a little, what did you call it, salty earlier, huh? I was getting a little...
You said you were salty. I didn't say you were salty.
Oh, okay. However you wanna phrase it, that's okay. I'll get you after this show. We were picking on each other pretty good right before the intro rolled tonight, so we'll see where it goes later.
I made him cry, but he doesn't want y'all to know that. Anyway, so have y'all had any action, Bigfoot-related action? Preferably, this is a PG show.
I haven't had any action, but I did hear some very interesting news. You remember last week we were talking about a Bigfoot dating site? Well, I got some info through the grapevine that there is going to be a Bigfoot dating site.
For Bigfoot or for Bigfooters? I mean, how
That's one way to
set this up?
Grass wakes up. What? What?
Yeah, they got his attention, doesn't it?
Yeah, they're working on it right now, getting it together and setting it up and everything like that. So it's not out there yet, but we'll let you know and everyone else out there who's single and looking for a Bigfoot partner, not a Bigfoot partner, but a Bigfoot enthusiast partner. That's right to be.
Oh my gosh. And the awkward. You see, this is why I'm awkward. I come by it naturally because only she could turn that into whatever that was just now.
It sounds like a Russian dating site or something. Get some babushkas. Bigfooter.
Duh.
Is it Bigfoot? Or Bigfoot or Bigfoot researcher?
You want to try that again, Mom? Or are you done?
Yeah. I can just see him. I'm looking for someone who likes to go for long walks in the woods. It must be tall, dark, and ugly.
I use one computer.
Oh, my goodness.
Boy.
Well, we are waiting on our guest, Brenda Harris, so we're going to just, I guess, just chat until she gets there. Good Lord. So.
Now, as far as Bigfooting for me, I'm going to have to. I went out a couple of weekends ago, and then last weekend it rained. This weekend is going to be real nice. I'm going to try to go to someplace new. I've got to find something a little flatter. That last place was all for hikers, and the road ended basically scratching my Jeep on the other side. Oh, there's my Jeep. And wasn't any real place for me to pull over and do any squatching with this hip the way it is. So I'm going to go looking around for someplace new. Probably Sunday. Another day in paradise in the Cascade Mountains.
Yeah. Oh, man.
We've had wolves and coyotes. Wolves or coyotes one. I'm thinking it's coyotes. I believe we have a den east of the house, and they're real close. And at night, they're just too close for me. I won't even let my dogs out after dark because they're just too close. And I don't know what I'm going to do about them because they're just there every night. And I guess that's one of the perks of living out in the country.
Well, what would you do about something like that? If you got pups and stuff, you can't chase it off. That wouldn't be fair.
Well, that's right, but I've got one dog that every time he hears them, he goes running out there to them. I just know he's going to get ate. And they ain't got no sense. He just knows they got a lick of sense. So he's not allowed to go out after dark. So, anyway. So, Bill, have you had any more visitors around your place?
No, but it's just been 2 days now since it stopped raining for a week. And
amen.
I just saw the forecast, and we're going to have about 3 more days of clear, and it's supposed to rain for 2 solid weeks. So, I don't know. Maybe when it all settles down, dries out. But I haven't had anything else, recently. We thought, we're not 100% sure, but 3 of us are pretty sure we saw a cougar cross last night, probably about 45, 50 yards from the house. That's about the only thing we've seen. No juicy squatch info this week. Nothing's going on, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Nothing here in town. Imagine that.
In the big city.
Yeah, that. Same here, Grass.
It takes me an hour and a half just to get out to the woods.
Same here. It takes me over that. It takes me an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Oh, that's crazy. I couldn't live like that.
It's hard. It's hard. This is the first time I've lived in a big city, and We're looking for property outside of town because we just can't. We're both country people.
Yeah.
Proud.
Yeah, but y'all get to go see all the various cryptids when you go to Walmart, right? I mean,
yeah, it's
city.
pretty scary. It gets pretty scary. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. Walmart, walking down the street, working at McDonald's, Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
Did y'all see that video of that woman, that mother beating her kid in the head, the one that was in Baltimore? Wasn't that great?
Yeah.
I love that. I
was
that.
excited. Oh,
yeah.
That was awesome.
If it rolled several buses up loaded with mothers, they would have cleared that out in a hurry, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they would.
Maybe. I think our guest might be here.
Okay.
You want to bring her on?
Well, let me make sure that's going to be her real quick. Hold on a second. Yeah, that is our guest. And so if Graz will roll that wonderful introduction to our guest and bring you Brenda. I can't.
Well,
Here we go.
good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Night Callers Bigfoot Radio presents Brenda Harris. Brenda is a Native American born in Shiprock, New Mexico, and raised in Farmington, New Mexico. She has lived on the reservation in Upper Fruitland, New Mexico, since 1986. Brenda is married with 3 grown kids and works on the farm. She has been looking into the fact of Bigfoot activity since she was a teen going into the early 90s. In 2012, they started their own team, New Mexico Shadow Seekers, with the help of John Lee, William Woodall, Ryan Harris, and I'm going to mess this one up, I'm sure, Vincent Lujan, Hoyt Velarde, and Hoyt Velarde. Brenda has been on several radio shows and TV shows, Monster and Mysterious, and Finding Bigfoot Show. Brenda's goal is to inform the people of what's out there and take extra precautions to avoid unwanted encounters. And thank you very much.
Hi, Brenda. Welcome to Night Callers. How are you
doing
tonight?
Good. Hello. Doing good.
Hi.
Thank you.
We're really glad to have you tonight. We've been looking forward to it, or I have anyway. Really looking forward to it. I've caught you on another couple shows, and I think you have a lot of experience and information to offer.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me have this opportunity to share some stuff with you all. It's really great.
So you've got Lauren here. I'm in Oklahoma. Lori is also on this show. She's the one that contacted you initially. She's in Texas. We have Graz, the awesome person you just heard reading your biography. He's in Washington, and we have. Oh well, that's okay. You did so with flair, Graz.
Thank you very
and
much.
then we have Billy running the chat, and he's also in Texas. So we're all really excited to have you here, and just whatever you want to talk about tonight. We have some questions for you, but you just feel free to relate whatever you feel like you need to, okay?
Okay, sure. That's fine. Thank you. It's nice meeting you all.
Yeah.
Nice
okay, so go ahead.
Oh, I was just telling her, nice to meet you, Brenda.
Yeah,
Thanks for
you.
coming on.
Likewise. Hold on.
Okay,
it's really,
so
really awesome to meet you all. Really, thank you.
No, I wish we could meet you in person. That would be even better.
Oh yeah,
even better.
One day.
So I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm gonna go ahead and start it off. What got you into this topic? Was it a sighting, a story? What led you to this topic and got you interested in it?
Well, it relates back to when I was, I'm going to say, probably 8 or 9 years old. back in the, I would say back in the 70s. We used to always, my mom and dad and my brothers and sisters, we used to always go to my grandma's every weekend, and she lives out there in Pinon, Arizona. And on our way, we would leave about 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and it's a good about 3-hour drive from Farmington. And my mom and dad would always listen to what they call the Navajo Hour. And on that hour, they would talk in Navajo, relating the news and stuff of what's going on the reservation in different parts. Well, as we were going down the road, we'd always take, my dad always took a truck and had a camper in the back. And so he, made a bed so us kids could sleep back there on the way. Well, they thought that we were all asleep, and of course, I was up and just listening, to the radio, to what they were listening to. But I couldn't really quite understand, some of the language that the lady was talking in Navajo. And she would mention the Animus River and would say a word in Navajo, or would say, "Don't go down at the river. There's a monster down there." Mm-hmm. And so I would, say to my mom and dad as he was driving, "What's that lady talking about?" And they would tell me, "Oh, it's nothing, just go to sleep." And then, of course, I'm like, "Okay, just go to sleep, we'll wake you up when we get to Grandma's." And so this went on for quite some time, and like I said, every weekend we would go. And then, it was about a month that went by, and so each week that we would go, they would be listening to it. And like I said, they thought that I was asleep on our way, and the following week, the same thing. And the lady would always say, "Don't go to the San Juan River or Animus River." And I'm like, what is she talking about? Well, there was one night or one early morning, there was a name that, that just really caught my attention. And she would say, "Don't go down to the river. Sasquatch is down there." And so I asked my mom and dad again. I said, what is that? What is she talking about? And again, they would tell me, "Just go to sleep. Don't worry about it. We'll wake you up." But when they would go so far, I forget how far, they would travel on the road. It was dark at the time. I remember my mom one time, she yells out, something had run across the road, and she was, yeah. She said, "What was that?" It's like, whoa, And something had run across the road, and my dad slammed on the brakes, and they both were like, "What was that?" And, again, it's nothing, it was just a dog, so we just like, okay, so we just went to sleep. But when I got into my teens, that movie, The Legend of Boggy Creek, came out. That teenager, I went to go see this movie at the theaters, and I got to watching it, and there was one part where the gentleman said that name, and it was and the guy said a Sasquatch. And when he said that name, I remember that name. That lady on the Navajo Hour said the same name. So I'm sitting in the theaters like, what is a Sasquatch? What are they talking about, this hairy monster? Or when, as the movie goes along, this big old creature comes walking out, out of the field, and I'm like, oh my God, that's a Sasquatch. I'm like, that's down at the river, roaming the river. And that from that point on is when I started really paying attention in times that we would go out hiking, out at or camping, out at my relative's place out there in Sanasti, or just go for a hike out there. I would always look out. I wonder if that thing is really here. At a very young age in my teens, I'm like, no way. Well, as the years go by, and then, like I said, I married in '86, and I now reside over here on the reservation. In early '90s, I had an encounter, and my husband had just left for work, graveyard shift, And probably about half an hour, about half an hour goes by. It was in the summer, and I had my 2 kids, and then we had their cousins that came over from next door, and they wanted to stay the night. I had my windows open, and the front door was shut, and my bedroom was open. The window was open. So, as you're walking up some homes, they have gravel or they have sidewalk as you're walking up the porch. Well, we happened to have gravel, and we lived in a double wide at the time. And you know how some porches, they squeak.
Yeah.
And so what really caught my attention was I could hear heavy steps, something walking on the gravel, and the kids are all laughing. And next you know, I could hear the dogs really crying and whimpering. And I'm like, what's that? I told the kids, hey, be quiet. Everybody, just like something walking on the porch. And as it's walking on the porch, and at the same time I can hear my dogs are whimpering and crying. I'm like, what in the world? And I hear the squeak on the porch. Okay, something's on the porch. I'm like, maybe someone's just trying to scare us or scare me or whatever. And so at the time I had my youngest brother there with me. And he was standing at the end of the couch, and I was kind of like behind him. And we were just all looking at each other. And next thing you know, we could hear the screen door open. And screen doors, quite a few of them, they squeak as well. So we could hear the latch open and the doors opening up. And pretty soon we start seeing the doorknob was moving, like something was trying to get in the door. I'm like, what in the world? And what just blew me away was just listening to the dogs crying. And there's a whimpering. I'm like, what is wrong? And something's out there that shouldn't be there because of the way the dogs are reacting. So I told my brother, I said, you know what, we got to open the door and see what's there. And he froze. He could not move for nothing, and he just couldn't move. He got really scared. So I'm like, okay, I just got to open the door, and I just got to see what this thing is. So I hurry up and grabbed the doorknob, unlatched the deadlock, and I could hear that thing let go. And I swung the door open, jumped on the porch, and this thing ran off the porch. By the time I got onto the porch, this thing was tall, but I think it was tall, very tall, and it was black. It had hair from the head all the way down to the legs, to the foot. And I was like, oh, my God, that can't be what I think it is. And it just shot around to the west side of our home. And I'm like, oh, my God. I was just kind of like, that. There's just no way. That can't be, Well, it ran behind our house, and I'm just standing there like, wow. Yeah, I didn't know. I was just like, that. There's just no way. That can't be here. Well, I went back into the house, and my brother seen the same thing, and we just both looked at each other. We walked back into the house, and my young kids and the other kids were all like, what was it? What was it? I'm like, oh, it's nothing. Let's just go to bed. So we turned down everything, locked up everything. About 15 minutes later, even with me and my brother standing on the porch, my dogs still wouldn't come out from underneath the porch. I could just hear them really whimpering. So we went back in, and like I said, the kids were asking what was that. So that's nothing. Just go to bed and let's call it a night. By this time it was after 11. So we turned everything off, and we were going to bed. About 15 minutes later, this thing came back. Now this went on throughout the whole night, and it would turn the doorknob. I'm like, what? It would what? I mean, the thing is huge. It's big. But I'm sure it could, just lift it down the door open if it wanted to, but it didn't. I mean, it was just trying to scare us. What it wanted, I don't know. Did the same thing, and I would just flip on the light. I could hear, running off. At the time, I was a little scared to look out the window. And each time I would make a noise, and it would take off. And then it would come right back and do the same thing. I'm like, what does it want? So probably the fourth time that it came back, which would be, by this time it was about 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, okay, this is crazy. So I I got up and I told my brother, I said, listen, I said, you can either go with me or you can stay in here. I'm going to lock you guys in the house. I'm going to jump in the truck and I'm going to go drive around, and see, what this thing is or which way it went. And at that time, my father-in-law at the time, too, he was working the graveyard shift, so I was the only one home. And, in that resident there. So I got a smell with you, so we locked all the kids in the house and had somebody over there with me, and we jumped into the truck, and we drove around our plot there. Now, finally, one of the dogs starts following us. And had I just paid attention to my dog, we traveled down to the north side of the road at the end of our field there, and we turned to the west. About halfway driving, the dog all of a sudden starts whimpering, and he hightails back to the house. And at the corner at the end of our field there's some really thick brushes, weeds that was there. And this thing must have been sitting in there, hiding there, because the dog would not go any further. Had I just paid attention, and we just passed those, thick brushes, and it was possibly sitting in there, but we kept on going. Of course, I didn't see anything, so we get back to the house. We just locked up and went to sleep. And about 15 minutes later, this thing came back. So I'm like, okay, so I've got to see. They try to get a better look at it. And our window faces the front of the porch. So what I did was, when I was standing there on the porch, I looked at the curtain, and I looked again, and there it was standing on the porch. I mean, this thing is tall, and it was just covered in hair. And I'm like, what is it like? Could see it like turning the doorknob, Then I might have really slapped that. I hit that window hard, I just made a loud noise, and it took off. And it was gone for a while. It came back probably two more times, and then daylight started breaking, which is about 6 o'clock. Comes rolling around, it's starting to get kind of light, and then everything just stopped. And I didn't sleep that whole night, just wondering what it wanted, why was it doing what it was doing. And I just like, well, my husband's about home now, so he kind of scooting around about 7 o'clock in the morning, and I tell him what had happened throughout the night. I go and see it because the thing was on the porch and, messing with the doorknob like it wanted in. And, he didn't believe me at first, so we went walking around our house, and we found a footprint. And at the time, I didn't think of taking a picture or getting it casted at that time, but the footprint, what it looked like, that movie, Legend of Boggy Creek, when the young boy finds a footprint in the water and has 3 toes, that same footprint is what we found behind the house. It was big.
3 toes. You found 3 toes?
Really big with 3 toes, yes.
Okay.
And I was like, wow. And it made a really good impression because it was kind of muddy behind the house, so it left a pretty good impression in mud there. And he was shocked. He didn't know what to think, what to make of it. He's just like, wow, I can't believe that's here. And from that time since is when I really started really just watching and listening, doing some research, reading on it, and just keeping my eyes open and seeing if I see anything or if neighbors hear anything, But here on the reservation among the Native people, you don't talk about stuff like that. You just leave it alone. Let it do what it needs to do and don't bother it. And people out here on the reservation, not just here in the area where I live, but different parts of the reservation, many people have had encounters. They have seen it, they've heard it, they've smelt it. And so a lot of them just, let it go, don't bother. As long as you don't bother it, don't bother you, which is true, But, you know, it goes to back during that time is when I started really getting into it and then doing my own research and stuff like that. And I just kept it really quiet. I didn't tell my family. My husband and my kids knew what I was doing, but except for my side of the family, my mom and dad, brothers and sisters, I didn't let them know what I was investigating and stuff like that. I just kept it real quiet. And because I didn't know how they would react to it, like, oh, you're crazy, you know. When I finally came out and telling, you know, letting them know what I was doing and stuff, and they were very concerned for me, like, oh, you should be digging into stuff like that, or, you know, you're not supposed to, you know, just be careful, you know, and, you know, stuff like that. They were very concerned for me. And then it just kind of took off from there. And then 2012 is when I started my own team. And we've had a lot of activity going on, you know, all over. Between 2009 to 2012, we've had some incidents that had happened. And I've had the people that over at the chapter house had called me. Grandma needs to, like, we need you to come to the chapter house. We have a grandma here that's in tears, and she really wants to talk to you. So I'm like, okay. So I went over there and talked to her, and she's crying, and I'm like, okay, what's going on? And she started explaining to me that something had been coming over to, you know, had killed her sheep. And she asked me, can you come and take a look? So I'm okay. And she goes, can you take care of it? Can you kill it? Get rid of it. This thing is just taking my livestock. So I'm like, well, you know, we went back to her place, and she showed me what had gone, you know, what had happened. And some of her sheep were just, you know, ripped up. Some were just, you know, were missing. And, you know, again, she would ask me, can you kill it? Get rid of it? You know, she was not the only one, the only grandma that I had got a call on like that. I had several grandmas that I had to go see because they were dealing with the same thing. You know, here on the reservation to the elderly, they grew up taking care of the sheep. That's like a precious jewel to them. And for them to wake up one morning and their sheep is all gone, that's devastating to them. And, you know, I'm just like, oh, my God, what the heck, you know. It's like, what do you do? I mean, I got people that live around the grandmas. I can't just go down there and shoot it. What if I have a stray bullet and it's going to go hit someone? Then I'm going to go to prison for it, you know. So I'm like, you know what, I'll do what I can. But as far as killing it, I don't know. I'll have to see, you know, what I can do, try to get some people to help. Maybe try to run this thing out, or, you know, I mean, they're like, what good is that? It's just going to come back, which is true. And that had gone on for a while back in 2009. 2010 was the same thing again. And I thought, you know what? Someone needs to say something. Someone needs to do something. So I went before the officials over here at our chapter, and I mentioned to them, can I talk about this creature, Bigfoot? Can I inform the people? You know, nobody ain't going to do it. You know, everybody talks. I'm a researcher. I investigate. They're like this and like that, you know. I'm like, well, why didn't you say something to the people? Why? You know, if you know all of these things, how come you didn't say anything? But nobody really went, you know, because like I said, we're not supposed to talk about this. It's just a quiet thing, you know. But now that this thing has come around and has done some things that it shouldn't be doing, now I'm like, you know what, someone needs to say something. So I stood up. I went before the officials, and I asked them if I could speak at the chapter house to inform the people of what's around, and just hearing some of the community members, what they're going through. I had a family that was that this thing had been terrorizing this family for quite some time. And if you could just see the fear in their eye. I mean, I've never seen a family with so much fear in their eyes. They're running around with their guns and getting tired of this thing bothering their livestock. And it's like, oh my gosh, what, someone needs to do something, or, bring it out. What can we do? And so I started doing like I said, my own research, and like, okay, what does this thing want besides the livestock? We've got water here. We've got a big river flowing through the area we live. We have people that have livestock, people that grow gardens, huge gardens. They have corn, the watermelon, all of that stuff. And, these things are making their way to on the properties, looking for food and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, here's some of the things that the people could do. That if they can do some of these things, possibly this will keep them away, get things put up. So, the chapter officials, they were really, really hesitant. They're like, oh no, if we let her talk, we're going to pretty much get bashed for it, or we're going to get laughed at, and we're going to have community come say, how can you let her talk? She's not supposed to be talking about stuff like that. They were really unsure. They were like, I don't know, But then I started telling them what this thing is doing. I took it down on her sheet, and then another family, what they're going through, this thing coming constantly to their house, just about every night, messing with their livestock and all. And I start sharing more of that with them, and they're like, I said, this is starting to create some kind of problem here. People need to know and be aware of this. So they all kind of talk among themselves, and they're like, I don't know, they're kind of think that. So they said, okay, let's go ahead and let her talk, because this is an issue that does need to be brought up, and it is here. So they let me talk, and a week later, when they had the meeting, is when I brought up some stuff. And of course, I had one person out of, I don't know how many people was there. It was pretty packed at the meeting, and there was no one person there. Of course, you always going to get someone that's going to mock you, or like, yeah, right, just laugh at you. Yeah. And I just let him say whatever they need to say, but I went on to keep speaking, do these things, and I had a gentleman that was very, very happy. A lot of just about every one of them that was in the room, they were very quiet, and they're like, you know what, she's right. It's about time someone brought this up, because it is becoming an issue. And they were very, very thankful that someone finally stood up and said something. What I'm doing and what I share with the people, and why I'm doing this, is because I don't want anybody to get hurt. My number one concern is the people's safety. Right. I'm not doing it for fame or for fortune, or things that I put up on my Facebook, like the footprints I cast or some pictures. None of that's not going to make me any kind of money, and I'm not after money. I'm after the safety. I don't want nobody to get hurt. That I'm very concerned for the people, even the research people that are out in the field, looking and posting stuff, which is there's nothing wrong with that. Finding the footprints, casting them, sharing stories, there's nothing wrong with that. And I thought all of you guys were doing stuff like that. Getting the word like, hey, it is there, it's out there. People see it, people hear it, they smell it. And there's no way hiding this thing. All the evidence is there. And people are like, oh, you're making a lot of money out of this. I'm like, no. You got to come see where I live. My house ain't done. I'm building a house. It's not done. Now, if I was making money out of it, let me know how. Well, I'm like, no, that is not my goal. My goal is to inform the people. I'm really concerned for the people. And I'll share with you real quick with what I share with the people. I tell the people, light is your most important friend. The more light you can get, the better. But also I tell them, be very careful because these things are starting to be more daring and they are coming out more into the light. Even during the day, like daylight, morning, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, they're out walking around. They're watching you. And they're surprised. And I tell them, your cat food, dog food, any kind of livestock feed you have, and you leave it out late at night and you wonder why these things are coming around, it's because that stuff is out there. They're eating that. They know where the food is. If they can get that stuff put up, they'll go elsewhere, to go find food. Also, trash. Take care of your trash. Get that stuff put away. They're digging in the trash cans for food. Right now, this is what we're going through right now is they're looking for food. So right now, people right now are mixing small cats, dogs, even the cattle, some sheep, goats. Those are coming up missing. So right now, harvest is not here, not time yet for harvest because they like the corn, they like the potatoes, the onions, the fruit trees, fruits, stuff like that. So none of that's not around now. So now they're going after the animals. And so I tell them,
Karen?
No.
Is this something new that's happening in a wave, or is this something that's been going on all along that nobody's talked about before?
Are you talking to me or the other one?
Karen, yes. Is this something new or in a wave of things that are going wrong, or is this something that's been going on all along for 100 years that nobody has talked about?
It's been going on for a long time. It's just never been talked about. Like I said, it's been kept quiet, but now people are starting to talk more about it because, things that they're going through. So they're bringing some of this stuff up, and some of the stuff that I've been sharing, watch out, this, if you can do this may prevent from them coming on. Your corrals, if they're in the dark, get some kind of lighting up. That really helps. Then if you got tall weeds that are over 6 foot, get those things chopped down because they're bedding in them and they're hiding in them. When you're walking outside, everybody's, okay, we found footprints, out, doing some night investigation, or you hear something outside, and your dogs are going nuts, and everybody's so focused on looking down on the ground level. I'm telling you, hey, you know what, look up in the trees because these things are sitting in the trees. It may not be the huge ones, it may be the juveniles, the young ones that are sitting up in the trees. They are up there and they're watching us. They're observing the people. They're observing us. Also telling women, be careful. Ladies, be careful. Very careful, along with the kids. They are really observing the women, the kids, because they have young ones themselves. They like to hear the laughter. They like to hear the talking because they're trying to imitate what we say and what we do. I had a young gal that was telling me, it's going on about 4.5 years now. And it's about, maybe 15 miles from where I live. This little girl, 6 years old. She was at her grandma's during the summertime, and she'd be playing outside. And she tells her, I'm going to go play, whatever. And she's like, okay. Well, they happen to live, their house kind of sets up, on a little hill, but down below is like a green pasture, grass, and then the river. But one day the little girl, the granddaughter, tells her grandma, I'm going to go play. Grandma, I'm going to go play with the monkey now. I'll be back. The grandma's like, what? I'm going to go play with the monkey. He's waiting for me down there. What are you talking about? And so the grandma, she goes, take me down there. She goes, hey, I'll show you where the monkey's at. So they go walking down there, and the little girl leads the grandma down where she's going to go play. They get down to the end of the field, right down by the river there, and there's some tree lines. The tree starts thickening up in one area. And the little girl points over there. See, look, Grandma, it's standing right there. It's waiting for me. And that it was a juvenile. It was a young juvenile. And she was playing, I guess, getting ready to play with this thing. And for how long was she playing with this thing? I have no idea. And the grandma, as soon as she sees it, they run back to the house and she tells her grandma, her granddaughter, don't ever go back down there. You stay away from that. Of course, the little girl didn't understand, didn't know why. How come I can't play with it? Grandma says, no, you're not going outside. And, she left it at that and she kept the little girl inside. And what they see do is they'll draw the young kids in there, not knowing, thinking they're just going to go play. And not knowing that the older ones, the male and the female, are in the tree lines waiting. And they could have possibly just snatched that little girl. And the grandma just couldn't believe it. They're like, oh my God, really, how long has she been playing with it? Was she really, playing with it? How long? She's just like, oh, I don't know, And this was told by my sister, one of my sisters, and her friend, her grandma was the one that was telling her about it, and I'm like, wow. I said, yeah, keep an eye on your kids. Really watch your kids. Don't let them go down to the river by themselves, or don't let them, out of your sight, especially the ones that live along the rivers. Really keep an eye on your kids. And they're just like, wow, back in it was in the 60s, the grandma had her grandkids on the reservation. She was heading to the trading post. She had several of her grandkids in the back of bed of the truck. And they're just going, and next thing you know, the grandkids are all yelling at the grandma, Grandma, hurry up, the monster's coming. And she's like, what in the world? And this thing caught up with the truck and snatched one of the girls and ran back up into the mountains. They never found that little girl. Then in the 70s, the same thing happened, but it was a little boy. And my relatives happened to live in that area where it had happened, and they couldn't find either of them, the boy or the girl. Back in the 60s was a young little girl. In the 70s was a little boy. And I have relatives that live in that area. And as I got older, and I had asked some of my relatives, did that really happen? And they said, yeah, it happened. I'm like, well, did they say what took her? They said what they call a Sasquatch, a Bigfoot. Oh, I'm like, oh wow, and they said, yeah, it happened. They never found them. And so I really stress to the ladies, to the people out here, to keep an eye on your kids. We don't know enough about these things. A lot of people claim that they do, but really, no. There's so much that these things do. They're not going to do it right there and then, maybe in time. So I tell people, be aware of your surroundings because they are there. Just really, watch out. When you have to go outside, make sure you have someone with you. Take a flashlight with you. Always tell the gals, have the guys with you, even the guys. And I don't care how muscles you have, that ain't going to help you. Always go with someone. I don't care how famous you are, you go with someone. Have someone there with you. Because, we don't know. We act like we know, but no. We just don't know enough. Because these things, they may turn on you. They may. Just be careful. Really be careful. Out here in this area, people, we used to not even to have, used to have street lights out here. When I first moved out here in '86, it was like dark. I mean dark. There's a few street lights here and there, but ever since this activity has really picked up, when I did really start coming out with this and telling people, you know what, you do need to get a street light up. That really helps. And now, to this day, there's some people in our community that have not only one street light, they have 3 on their property. So it's very, a lot of areas, a lot of these homes have 3 street lights on their property. And I'm glad. That makes me happy that they are being aware of it. Light is your best friend for right now. But I always tell them, be careful, because they are coming out, being daring, coming out in the light as well. So that I always tell them, even the ladies, I'm like, hey, if you happen to be home by yourself and this thing, comes around and starts throwing things around, you don't know what to do. We got people, just around you. Don't shoot your gun, I tell us, if you're going to shoot your gun, be very rare you have people, your neighbors around. I said, what you could do is buy a firecracker, light that thing and throw it out. It'll scare them. Or if you have your car, it has a car alarm. If it gets too intense, I had a lady just recently had to do that about 2 weeks ago. And she had got off work, and she went home. She got home about 12 o'clock. In her area, she doesn't have a street light, so it's pretty dark. And where she has light, she has horses, and this thing constantly is always bothering her horse. So they put some fog light back there in the back, so they got their corral lit up really good. Well, this thing, she gets home, goes to bed, about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, this thing is just jerking on her front door. She's like freaking out. The dogs are going nuts. They're all crying up in the front. And she's like, oh, my God, what was it? She's like, this thing is about to tear my door down. So she grabs her car keys and hits that car alarm. And her and her husband, they could hear this thing just go. You could just hear the heavy steps, and it was running back down towards the river. And this lady lives about 15 miles from where I live. And she texted me right away, told me what was going on. And I went over there the next day to go find out what had happened. And you could see where it ran into the weeds, the footsteps in the weeds, and it ran back into the back down towards the river. So I had me, one of the guys, one of my team members, John Lee, went with me. That happened on a late Wednesday night 2 weeks ago. And she contacted me later on the next day to tell me what was going on and asked me if I could go back to her house, come back out on Saturday, and keep an eye, kind of, watch her son, because he was going to be the only one home, because they had to do a one-night trip out of town real quick. So I'm like, okay. So we went over there Saturday night. Now, in between those nights, from Wednesday to Saturday night, it was pretty quiet. She seemed to calm down, but she could hear the horses going off. So Saturday night, we went to her house, and we got there about midnight. And not even 10 minutes that we were there, we pulled up to her house back in. We just stayed in the truck to see if this thing would come back to her house. As soon as we pulled up, got our recorders out, just sitting in the truck listening, could hear the dogs going off. And at some point, it sounded like the dogs were chasing something. And all of a sudden, it just got real quiet. just when we turned our recorders on, we got wood knock. I mean, this thing was just banging fast. And it, oh man, this, I don't know how many times this thing was hitting on a tree, it sounded like, or something, you know. I mean, it was just bang, 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 bang real fast. Then it stopped, the dogs were going nuts. Then it stopped. Right when it stopped, and then my colleague there, John, hears something in the river, splash. The dogs are going off, you know, just going crazy. So we sat there, and we were just listening. And the horses started kind of going off. And they were, you know, kind of like running. I mean, you could hear them running. I'm like, okay, something's wrong. So we listen. And then wood knocks again. It goes off again. I'm like, wow. After that, and I got all this on recording. So in between, you know, after this last wood knock, it's really quiet. And then pretty soon I hear something that sounds like metal, hitting on metal. I'm like, is that metal on metal? What is that? Sound is loud. Well, maybe it's the horse that's kicking the side panel of the corral. I bet that's what it's doing. And so we just started listening, and then we could hear, like I said, the dogs are just going nuts. And it gets real quiet. By this time it's like about 1:30, an hour that we've been there. And we could hear stuff. It'll be really quiet again, and that hour goes by. And so about 2:30, so I asked John, so well, do you want to call it night? I don't think it's going to come around. So there's no, let's wait till 3. So we sat there till 3, right about 57. When I looked at the time, it's at 2:57. All of a sudden, bam, this thing just starts whooping, and it whoops like 3 times to the east of us, and it was on the dogs. They just go nuts. Like, wow, okay, well, let's wait a little while. Let's see if it's going to come back to on the property here. And the dogs were just going crazy, and I'm like, wow. So we got a good recording of it whooping to the east of us. And then after that, it got just quiet, like it just must have went off to be further to the east. And so we left there about, it was about 3:30 when we finally left, because things got really quiet after it got done doing its whooping yells. It was really loud. And that night was really active that night. So we went ahead and came on back on home and started listening to the
Brenda.
recording. Yes.
Hey, Brenda. We love this. You have some wonderful stories and everything, but we've got to go to intermission. So we're all going to take a break, everyone. And when we come back, we have a caller. Also, we have questions. We've just been busting the ash you. We just kept waiting for a little break there to come in and ask you some questions. So we do have some questions for you and everything when we come back. Intermission's going to be about 7 minutes long, so it gives everyone time to go get a snack, get a drink, and we'll be back. Hey, Brenda?
Okay,
fantastic job. You're amazing. You're amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. We'll be back in a moment, everyone.
Okay.
You are listening to Night Callers Bigfoot Radio.
But I've got my brain, yeah, I've got a heart. And courage built, man, I won't let go. Tonight
New Mexico Bigfoot researcher Brenda Harris.
Hey, well, that was some nice rock and roll. I like that. Okay, well, we are back from break. You're listening to Night Callers Bigfoot Radio. If you have a question and want to call in, the number is 347-989-0313. And Brenda's been a wonderful, wonderful guest so far, and we've really enjoyed listening to her. Brenda, are you still with us? Hello, Brenda, are you there?
Yes, I'm getting a drink of water real quick.
I'm sorry. I have some questions for you, Brenda. I've just been busting to ask you. I heard you mention a couple of times that you thought they couldn't be there. Is it because of the geography of where the reservation is? What does the land look like there?
Well, there's a lot of farmland. People do a lot of farming out here, and a lot of homes. And the reason why I say that is because I would always hear they just stayed up in the mountains. That's where their home is. But I know, I didn't think, a lot of the people didn't think that they would actually live around this area. When I say I live on the reservation, people are thinking we live on the nothing but dry, desert, flat area. No. Some areas are like that, yes. But in the area where we live about 10 miles west of Farmington. And in Upper Fruitland, we live, just like right along the river. We live about half a mile from the river. And people, like I said, a lot of farms all over the place in this area.
What about wildlife? You said that they were attacking the livestock. That tells me that there's not a lot of wildlife, or they wouldn't be attacking the farm animals.
We used to have a lot of wildlife. We used to have a lot of deer that would roam around the rivers. We used to have a lot of skunks, foxes, coyotes. But all of a sudden, those have kind of disappeared. And so, which makes me believe that these things are eating, killing those things. Mm-hmm. I've come across a lot of bones along the river, deer, dog bones, horse bones, cow, dogs, sheep, all, different parts along the river. I've come across a lot of that.
Okay. When you were having this experience where they were coming up on the porch and turning the doorknob, you seemed amazingly, remarkably cool to me and calm. Were you as calm telling the story? You were very calm in telling the story. Were you as calm when it was happening?
I was, when that was going on. You've got little kids, 7, 6 years old, and you have to keep your calm, because if they see Mama going nuts, they're going to be over here screaming and crying, like what the heck's going on. So I was scared deep down inside. Yes, I was scared, because I didn't know what this thing was. What is it? Until I opened that door. And then I actually saw it. My brother and I saw that when we just was like, whoa. But like I said, we had to keep our calm because of the kids.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about population-wise? Do you think there's quite a large group of them in your area?
Yes, I do. They have really grown in numbers, not just here, but also up in the mountains. So we've got some that is roaming in the Farmington area, the Bloomfield area, Aztec area, along the rivers. It could be the smallest stream. As long as there is water, they will follow that stream. They hug that stream, doesn't matter how small, along the rivers. But, a lot of water. As long as there's water, they will stay along the water. We've got water. We've got food. It's just all over here, for them. Population, like I said, they've grown in numbers within the past, I'm going to say 3 years. It just seems like they've really exploded.
We had a guest on a previous show who talked about, the gifting and how many farmers will plant extra to accommodate, predator is not the right word. You know what I'm saying? To accommodate any animals that might come in and everything like that. Do they do that on the reservation now?
There's very few that do that. Not a whole lot of them. Very few people do. Not a whole lot. I don't encourage it. That's one thing that I stress to the people is don't leave it food. I have a lady that lives kind of close to in our area here that was feeding them. And she stopped and this thing got mad. I tell them don't feed it because they're expecting it all the time. And if you don't, leave it food, it's going to, start throwing things on your property, which has happened before. So I really stress don't feed it, because they will get mad. And it has happened. I had a gentleman from down south when he came last summer. He shared with me with this nurse, but the gentleman, he had a lady that was taking care of him, a nurse, and she's at that age where he can't do a whole lot, so she would come in, take care of him, just do her daily routines, and she would feed her his dogs for him, and she noticed, that when she was feeding the dogs, she seen something behind the house. And she's like, what is that? Until this thing actually stood out, and she couldn't believe what she was seeing. And from what he told me was that there was a family of the Bigfoots that were coming onto the property, and the dog food that she was leaving out there, they were coming in and eating that. She actually watched them eat the dog food. And so that went on for quite some time. And to what I hear is that she's got some really good pictures of these things. Well, she ended up, I believe she must have went on vacation, if I remember right, maybe went on vacation. So there was nobody there at the house. And when they came back, and when she went, to go feed the dogs, they said it was a huge mess behind the house. These things went on a rampage looking for the food. They started throwing things all over the place. And the gentleman had a dog house that was built for his dogs. From what I heard from the gentleman telling me that the dog house alone weighed 300 pounds. And they found that dog house on top of an RV trailer. These things got mad and put the dog house up there on top of the RV trailer. And things were just thrown all over trash and, trash cans and stuff like that. And these things, like I said, they got mad because there was no food left out for them. And so I tell the people, don't feed it because they're going to expect it all the time. And if you don't leave it, they're going to get mad, which has happened in my area, not mine, but our area.
I was going to ask you that, Brenda. Has there ever been any truly aggressive encounters where the people had to leave their home or had to get firearms to protect themselves, anything like that?
We've had in our community, I believe 2 families that left the area, that moved out because this thing was coming around their place. And they got, the mama got fed up, and she's like, I want to, leave. This thing is just constantly coming around the property. So they left. People have asked me, has it attacked a person? Yes, it has. Now, this is something that is not brought up, is being really quiet. Has it killed someone? Yes, it has. People are like, oh yeah, that's BS. No, it has happened. So, I tell people, please just be very careful. Don't go down to the river late at night unless you really, really have to, or, go with a group of people.
Did in this case where someone was killed, did they provoke this attack, or was it unprovoked?
From what I understood was that it was two gentlemen that went down. They had gotten off work, and it was in the summer, and they did buy a 6-pack of beer. And like, well, we're just going to go chill at the river and just chat, which is what they were doing. And from what I understood was that they were just sitting there talking, and the next thing you know, this thing came and started attacking them. Why? I don't know. Maybe, perhaps maybe a young one was there, and these two gentlemen didn't know that maybe possibly a young one was there. I really don't know what caused this thing to attack them. Well, the gentleman, both of them tried to fight him off, and he had according to the gentleman, he had the Bigfoot had a good hold of his friend and tried to help them fight him off. All the same, threw him into the river. He gets back up and tries to help his buddy. This thing is just too strong, so the thing he gets thrown again, and pretty soon he just runs back up on top of the hill and starts banging on people's doors, their neighbors. Hey, this thing's got my friend. I need to call the cops. I need some help. He's got my buddy down there. So they called the cops, and of course nobody really didn't believe them because they were drinking. So they, the cops finally get down there. They had the sheriff, the state, and the Navajo PD finally get down there. Well, they couldn't find his buddy, and so they ended up having to call search and rescue with their boat there, and they went down the stream there, down the river there, and they found his friend, his buddy, laying there. And when they came upon him, he was dead, and his neck was broken. And they found footprints around where the body was, but they couldn't find the creature itself. It already had taken off. And so is
there a reservation police there on the reservation, a particular? Does the reservation have its own police department?
Yes.
And are they aware of these?
Oh, yes. Yes,
they are.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they get tons of calls all the time. A lot of calls.
Have you ever talked to them about them and tried to assist them in understanding them a little better, or are they pretty much don't want to discuss it with anybody?
Yeah. They pretty much don't want to discuss, so so I don't, I'm not going to barge in.
I think that they're not allowed to discuss such a thing. It's like our park services and things like that, same rules that they have to go by, regulations.
Right.
They're not. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Grass, Lauren, if you guys want to jump in, please do. Do you have a question, anybody? Or
you keep asking all mine. Those are my same questions, pretty much. I heard I'd read an article somewhere that when people have this problem, sometimes they call you instead of the res PD. Is that?
Yeah.
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 I as soon as I get a call, I always tell the people, I said, I don't care how late it is, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, just give me a call. If it's just this thing's just really scaring you, just give me a call and I'll head out there, and I'll do that. I'll go drive around the property and go check. A lot of people don't know that I do that late at night. And I was working there for about almost a year. That I was working the graveyard shift, delivering paper. So on my way home, I would be driving. As a matter of fact, my husband would be going with me, and we'd kind of drive around and see if we, see anything out of the ordinary or, hear anything. So a lot of the times I go by myself and, go check. People don't know that. I do that because I just feel like I just want to make sure everybody's okay. Everybody's good. Their livestock's good. A lot of the people will, like, hey, can you come check my area? Can you come check this out? This is what happened last night. And I'll go check and go see. Make sure they're okay. I'll contact them, after I get done, checking their areas. I'll call them the next day. Did it come back? Did it do anything else? I'll even go about an hour away from where I left to go check on somebody. It takes me about maybe 30 minutes, 40 minutes to get to the family's home just to go check on them. So that's just something that I do because I really care about the people and I don't want anybody to get hurt. And then they're, too scared, to go check or, if they once I get there and then if they're up, they'll, flashlight at me, I come over here, so I'll go and talk with them. And we'll have, on the weekends, you usually have one of the guys with me and we'll go do a stakeout and just watch, and see. And we do a lot of stuff like that. There's a lot of areas right now, so I've been really busy. I've had a lot of people that have been wanting me to come onto the radio shows or do a round table, and I just I'm lucky to do this one tonight. I was like,
we appreciate that too.
So, but yeah, I've been just swamped, and it's not like I don't want to do any radio shows or a round table thing, but I'm just really busy. And so I was lucky to get on this one tonight.
We're glad to have you. We do have a question from the chat. Are there tribal elders that are knowledgeable about them also, do they help at all, or do they just kind of give it all to you and kind of let you do it?
I talk with them, just inform them, and so they share a lot of what I have to say to their communities, and that has really helped out a whole lot.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, so the word it has gone out, and it is just really, really helpful. Of course, I got the Facebook. People can find me on Facebook. I got my email. I'll give you all of that, and that really helps. Once I don't do these little steps that really, really helps. If you have an old abandoned shed and it's not being in use, get rid of that because they're using that for shelter also. Stuff like that I share with the people, and they get the word out, and that has helped a whole bunch. The first year when I did the conference, the Bigfoot conference out here, I had a gentleman that works with NTUA, the electric company out of Shiprock. He came up to me, and he says, so you're the one. And I'm looking like, who's this, And he goes, so you're the one. So you're Brenda Harris. I'm like, yes. And he goes, you know what? Because of you, we are so far backed up on street lights. We've had tons of orders. We're so far behind. We're still trying to get those up. And I'm like, good. The words getting out light. Like I've been saying, light is your best friend for right now. Get as much light as you can up. And so that has been a big help for the people around here. Now, there is some people that live way far out on the reservation that still don't have light. I had a young lady that contacted me back in December, and she was telling me that her grandma, where she lives, way out on the reservation in Arizona, she doesn't have light, electricity at her place and she's been visited by two of the Sasquatch. She says, according to her, the color of them is white. They're white, kind of have like a silverish color to them. She said they've been coming and like slapping the side of her house, and you could hear her dog being slapped. Their dog, crying. And they had to go out there, and they've been checking on her quite a bit out there too. And in January, she said it seemed like it finally kind of settled down. And so, but she said during the summertime, her grandma gets a lot of visits on these things, and she's like, she has some of her I think her grandkids that come out and stay with her, and they make a whole lot of noise and stuff to keep these things away. So they've been trying to get some light out her way. So there is still some elders out there that don't have electricity. And those are the ones that do need them.
Well, I mean, I think it's awesome that you're doing this for your community and that you're getting the word out. We have one more question. Lori 103 in the chat, she said she heard another Navajo researcher talking, and he mentioned that people should pay attention to the moon phases, that certain days before and after certain moon phases, the Bigfoot are more active. Have you found that to be the same?
And when it's a full moon, yes. It's been very, very active. It's very active during that time. Even after. So it's not just a full moon, during those phases. It is active in between those times as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Lori, on the show, didn't you do something with the moon phases as well? Didn't you record when you had your database up?
Yes, I did. I when I was investigating all those reports, I noted whenever there was mention of a moon phase. And it did say that there were more sightings during a full moon, also more vocalizations during a full moon. So, speaking of vocalizations, what kind of vocalizations do you hear on the reservation? What are some common ones?
The whoop sound. I'm
okay,
sure you all know what the whooping sound is.
Yeah.
And then also, we've been hearing, a lot of the people have been hearing lately is like, sounds like a woman screaming like she's in labor. Very loud screams like that. The most recent one is probably about a week ago that they've heard this young couple. I went to go visit a couple of days ago, and she said that they were having a cookout, and all of a sudden this thing just yells out. She goes, it sounded like a lady screaming her head off, almost as if like she was in labor. I said, I've been hearing the same thing, and she said that really, at first they didn't believe it at all, no, they always just, watching some of the shows until they actually heard it outside, down below the river, and that's where the yells was coming from. She said it was very, very loud. Her and her boyfriend, they got pretty scared. They're like, wow, I just couldn't believe it. So we've been hearing that kind of yell, and then also my son, my youngest son, I had it was probably back in February of this year. I think it was February, January or February. I'll have to look at the recording again. Anyway, I had just left to go to work. And when I get into Farmington, my son calls me and says, Mom, this thing is here behind the house. And he says, I got it recorded, and this thing is yelling. He said, and what he recorded, what sounded like, he goes, it sounded really lonely, like a long, loud, cry. He goes, to him it sounded like it was really lonely. So it's kind of like a loud, sound, he got it recorded. And I believe that's on my Facebook page, and I'll repost that.
Okay, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, I'll do that. And I've got quite a few videos that I'm working putting on together So it's taken me a little time to get these together. I have like three different videos that
and you'll be posting them on your Facebook, Brenda?
Yes, I'll be posting.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
What about languages, Brenda? Have you ever heard anyone say they thought they heard a language? And if so, what kind of language did it sound like?
One of my neighbors that lives about a field away from me heard last summer. She said it sounded like it was just right outside her bedroom window, and it sounded like there was two of them, and she said she could swear that they were talking among each other. And what she described and then how it sounded, it just sounded like they were mumbling something, whoa, like that. But she couldn't make out what they were saying. But she says it was pretty loud what how the mumbling sound. It just sounded like they were talking to each other back and forth, and you could hear, it walking by the window. But she just couldn't figure out what they were saying to each other. It just sounded like a lot of mumbling sound is what she said.
Well, they're on the reservation. Do they still speak native dialect, or is it mostly English now?
Right now, it's mostly English, and a lot of the young people, they're starting to, try to talk the Navajo language. It is a hard language. I myself, I can understand it, but talking it for me is a little hard. I can say some words and stuff, but actually fluently, I'm still learning. It is a tough language. I always, get on my late dad that passed on. If you get on him, how come you didn't teach us when we were tiny, little babies? You're trying to learn it now. It is hard. It really is. But mostly right now is a lot of English. And so...
have you noticed any increased activity around native-speaking families?
What was that again? I'm sorry.
Have you noticed more activity around the native-speaking families, the ones that speak the native tongue?
No,
it's just an idea. I've wondered, if maybe they were attracted to a language that they found familiar to them.
No,
Okay. Hey, Grass, you've been looking at her place on Google Earth. Have you found anything?
Yeah, I'm looking at Google Earth trying to find some sources for these guys because they're coming down from Colorado probably or up in Mesa Verde. Are you getting sighting reports as far as Bloomfield? Are you checking that area?
Oh yeah, Bloomfield along the rivers. They're traveling along the rivers.
So they're coming down from Colorado, particularly.
Colorado. Oh yeah, Colorado, and then we got like the Chiska Mountains on the reservation, which is about an hour away from us. So we got the Lukuchikai Mountains out that way. So they're coming from that direction as well, to the west of us, and also to the north of us.
Right, Mesa Verde area. And the Chiskas, are those to the west of you?
On the reservation mountains are to the west of us.
Right. So they're pretty much coming from everywhere, and you're pretty much in the center of it all down there on the river.
Exactly.
All that food is. They're finding an easy place to live right there off the river, and they're taking it personal that you people are around.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You go down to the river just to sit around, and they don't like that for some reason. So you're trying to find a way for the people to live with them or defend themselves from them.
Pretty much defend themselves because of what they're doing is coming onto the property, and a lot of the people are getting tired of it taking their livestock.
Right.
And because a lot of the people, they live off of that's their income.
Right.
And for them just to come in and take, that's a big deal to the people.
Well, after all the time of living there, the farms are just now starting to get established in the last 40 or 50 years, I imagine. And that would be a bit of a tense situation to live in. Are people actually arming themselves and possibly thinking about posses in certain fashions?
Some have, they, late at night sometimes I'll hear gunshots going off. So there, like I said, a lot of the people are getting tired of it coming around the property. We just like to look in the windows and slap the side of the houses, tap on the windows.
Are you getting any invites from other people that want to come in and help you from other areas, other squatchers?
Some guys that are going to possibly making their way this way, and I'll be showing them around that are going to be helping me with some stuff. And that is very, very helpful.
Are the local res police at least? Granted, they don't want to talk about it or anything, but are they cooperating?
Oh yeah, they do go and check. The only problem that I run into, or a lot of the people that run into, is the Navajo PD. A lot of the police, the men and the women there in that department, they won't come and check because of their cultural ways. A lot of them believe that if you were to see one, you're going to die within 7 years.
Yeah.
So a lot of them, it stops them from coming to look. So it's almost like, okay, we have to go. We're pretty much on our own sometimes.
Right.
But you'll get some of them that will come and check the areas, which is really good. I'm glad that they are starting to come out and check. So the sheriff and the state, when they get called, they go and check right away. So, but it's very different with the Navajo PD because of the culture, the traditional ways.
I could see that. I know that I've talked to a few Navajo, and they either said, we don't talk about that. To talk about it is bad luck. To see one is definitely bad luck. I've had them tell me, the few that did talk, they said, we just don't talk about it. They said, I had one tell me, he's from Arizona, and he said that his tribe believed that they were banished. They were regular Native American tribes people that were banished, and that's what happens I don't know if you do something bad. I don't remember the way he explained it, but it's just something you just don't talk about. And I think it's a good thing that you are talking about it to help your people out there. I mean, their livelihood is being attacked right now.
Yeah. It's every tribe, every individual, they have their own beliefs, and it's true. You don't just go out and talk about it and say, but now that some of these things are occurring, people are starting to come out and talk, which is really good. I believe myself that's good, because you're getting aware, like, okay, this is what happened. Who do we contact? What do we do? Most of the times I'll call the Navajo PD. Every now and then they'll come, but sometimes it takes them like 2-3 hours to get out there. Sometimes they won't even get out there until 3-4 days later, even a week.
Oh my goodness!
So it takes them a long time, because the tribe, their PD is so, the Navajo Nation is so big. They have the cops scattered everywhere. So it takes them a long time to get, when they get a call, it takes them a while for them to get out here. So, and that's another problem that we run into. So some of the people have to take things into their own hands, hopefully they'll make the right judgment.
Now, with this kind of fear involved, with the culture, are they included in any of the dances? Are there masks that they wear or anything during any dances or anything?
Like a ritual dance?
Ritual dancing, or because in certain other places, like up here in the Pacific Northwest, Bigfoot is included in their dances, and they've got masks, they've got totems, they've got that kind of setup. Do they have that kind of setup down there?
So around here in this area, I haven't heard of it. I haven't heard of one yet. I'm sure they have, but like I said, they keep stuff like that real quiet.
Yeah, you just don't speak of it. I mean, it's just it's bad luck. It's just for kind of taboo. You don't speak of it.
Yeah.
So there's no kind of history back in the Navajo Nation where they, I've heard these stories all the last 15 years that I've been studying Sasquatch, that the Native Americans, back, before the settling of this country, they lived side by side with the Bigfoot, and they were considered brother. And I'm just wondering, was there any history that you've heard of that this kind of relationship went on back then?
I've heard that from my great grandma, my grandpa, when they were telling some of my relatives about it. They were related to me back then, way back then. That's they looked at them as the guardians. They protect the people. But now, from that time to now, is very different. It's almost as if they're turning on the people. Why? I don't know. I mean, we can read about it all, and back in the history, compared from back then to now, is very different. Very different. Everything has changed. So they're not friendly like some people think they are. That's why I tell the people, don't try to make friends of it, because they may turn on you. We don't know. You could be the best researcher out there, and you're thinking, these things are going to be friendly. What are you going to do when it turns on you? Here you are saying, oh, it's friendly, blah, 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 and bam, this thing attacks you. Now what? And so I always tell people, heads up, be careful, because we don't know. We know the history of it from way back then, but that was then. Now it's different. Today is different. When you see it, if you see a little one, do not approach that little one, because the big ones are there in the trees, watching you. So I tell the people, do not go close to those young ones. Stay away from them.
What about, are they ever accused of being shapeshifters?
I've been hearing that a lot. My answer to that
walkers,
question,
well, isn't it? It seems like to me that it was. Years ago we had a gentleman on from the Four Corners area, and he talked about skinwalkers. And we really wanted him on for Bigfoot, but he ended up talking about skinwalkers a lot, and I just didn't know if that was part of the lore of the Navajo, or
no. The Bigfoot and the skinwalker are two different things.
I thought so too.
Yeah, they're way different.
Okay. I think we have a caller, but I want to make sure that they're not just listening in. So can you hold on just a minute? Let me check. 414, are you just listening, or do you have a question?
That's good. Where'd you get that?
Just listening, I guess.
Yeah, I'm thinking so. Okay. Well, Brenda, we have 13 minutes left. Actually, about 10 minutes left.
Okay.
Can you share with us your most hair-raising experience?
Okay.
The one that you really felt like you didn't have any control over the situation, and you actually left. Is there anything like that that's ever happened to you?
Well, actually, let me see here. This was just recently, but I didn't leave because it got too intense. But I'll share with you. This was about 2 weeks ago. Was it 2? No, it was about a week and a half ago. I'm sorry. About a week and a half ago, I got a call from a lady. She was telling me that her sister had seen a Bigfoot was looking in the window, and the little girl had seen it. And it was about 9:30 at night when I got the call, and my guys were already at work. So I ended up grabbing my stuff, and I took off, so I was alone. And I'm always telling the ladies, don't go by yourself. And here I am. I just heard it, and I was gone. I just left. I'm like, what? I just got to go help this lady. And I just took off. And it took me about probably 40 minutes to get out to where she lives. And when I got out there, and she was messaging me, texting me what was going on, and this thing was looking in the window and had red eyes. The little girl got a good view of the face, and she said, "Look, just looked like a monster," and it had almost like a red collar to it or something, and that was freaking her out, and it was growling. And the husband, he was asleep. He didn't hear anything, and so I told her, "Okay, I'm on my way. I'm getting there. Just direct me to where you live." And so I finally get out there, and they told me that there was a family. They seen 2 big ones and a little one. And the big one happened to be, they said it's been walking right there by their house. They knew, it seemed like it knew where the food was. And their food they had it in the truck, the back of the bed of the truck, and they had a camper on there. And this thing happened to be standing there like it knew where the food was and it wanted that. Well, the other one starts walking, and it was heading towards the horse corral, and the horse is going crazy. And so I told the lady, I said, okay, I'm going to go park down there by the corral, and I'm just going to sit there and listen and see if I can.
You were by yourself, right?
Yeah, I was by myself. Now, I stayed in the car, so I had my windows down, and I had my recorder going, everything going, so... Well, I'm going to just stay in the car, and just listen out. And so I parked real close, kind of close to the corral there. And I sat there for probably, I get there about, must have been about 10:30 or something like that. And I sat there for about 3 hours just listening. From the time that I got there, those dogs were going crazy. Okay, now I'm sitting over here in the ride, and down by the corral, dogs are going off. And I'm like, okay, this thing is here somewhere. Where the heck is it? The horse is just running around in the corral like crazy. And I'm like, oh, but that horse, it's got to be somewhere here. And then it gets kind of quiet, and all of a sudden I hear this yell. I don't know if it was a coyote or if it was a fox. I mean, this is just going off to the south of me. Now, I mean, it just sounds like it's just right out my window. It was loud. Dogs are going off. And behind me is pretty dark, and that's the area that it's been coming up. And also it's been coming up to the west of me, so I got an east and west where it's really dark. And I'm in the middle, right by the corral. The homes are up just above to the north of me. And so now I'm like, okay, this thing is somewhere out here. Where the heck is it? So I'm sitting in there in the car listening. The horse is going nuts in the corral. And I'm like, okay, where is it? And I could swear that horse, I'm like, that poor horse. That horse is running in circles. And I swear that I could wait for this horse to break through that corral. I mean, that's so bad. This horse was going nuts, and he started snorting. When he started snorting, I'm like, okay, it's here. So I'm just looking. I mean, it's pitch dark around where I'm sitting, and I'm looking like back, side on. Like, where the heck is this thing? So I'm looking, and this dog, their dog starts, I swear it's like it's chasing something and biting the leg or something. And I can hear all of a sudden like the dog's getting slapped, you know, like, woo, you know. I'm like, okay, it's on the north side of me and it's coming up. So then I kept looking and the horse was just going nuts in the corral. So I kept looking, so I grabbed my night vision camera and I start looking around. And just when I put the night vision down, right, I looked to the north of me. There's a big old cottonwood tree, and then there's a street light, so I can see a nice silhouette or something walks by. I can pretty much see it pretty good. Well, I'm looking at dogs are going nuts, and then all of a sudden, like I said, the horse is going crazy, and I looked again, and I see this thing walking. I mean, just probably, I'm going to say about 30 yards from where I'm sitting in the car. And when it walked right where I could see a good figure of it, and the corral is about my height. And so this thing was about as tall as me. And I could see the head. You could just see the hair kind of like standing here and there. And then walks by, and I hurry up, excuse me, and I hurry up and grab my night vision. And it walks, and the color of it through the night vision looked white. And then all of a sudden, this thing just drops down on all fours, and it was gone. I mean, that horse was just going nuts, and it shot off to the west. And then a few minutes later, dogs are going off again. I'm like, okay, it's either the same one or another one's coming. And I'm standing there, I'm like, what in the world? I'm like, wow, I just can't believe it. And I'm like, you put the camera down, and there it goes. Well, corral really snorting and starts kicking. I'm like, okay, this horse is just going to bust through the corral after that thing walking by like that.
Right.
So I just wanted, and it was gone. And a few minutes later, dogs go off again. And I'm like, oh, okay, where is it? So I look in the same area again, and I see this big, tall thing standing there. And I'm like, is that? Oh, I'm like, holy cow. So I looked in the night vision again, and I'm like, that's not it. And it was a horse. The people that live across the main highway from where I was at, they have horses. Well, the horse broke out of the corral, and whatever was chasing that horse, and that led into these people's yard there. That horse was going nuts. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, okay. And that horse just took off. And I don't know what happened to that horse. So I stayed there. And I just listened to see, anything else. But that horse, I tell you what, the one in the corral, I have never seen any horse do what it was doing. And I swear that horse is just going to bust out of that corral. I'm like, oh my gosh, I recorded the way how the horse was acting to this thing walking by. So I'm hoping that I got the sound and all of that, so I can get that posted as well. But that night there, that was pretty intense for me because I'm by myself and I'm trying to find out which direction this thing is coming. I'm like, is it coming behind me? Is it coming to the south, or which way is it? Because the dogs, they're just all going crazy. And I'm like, the horse, I was worried about the horse because I thought, oh my God, what the horse don't, hurt itself, just the way it was acting. And I was just like, oh my word. And then
so that was
probably
a young one.
Yeah, it was a young one. So the big one was somewhere, along the tree line, but further probably to the east of me, behind me. And so it just seemed like after that incident, it got real quiet. And I stayed there for about 45 minutes, and then it just seemed like it just stopped. By this time, it was like almost 4 o'clock. It just seemed like it got calm, but the horse was still really acting up, but he seemed to finally settle down. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go. I guess I'll go ahead and go. So I left that night.
They don't seem to be afraid of humans at all.
No, I don't seem that way because, the people from what they, I've asked him, I said, how did it react to you when you saw it? He goes, it growled, as if it didn't want me to step any further. I see how when they growl like that, most likely they have a young one. So, when you get that growl, you need to just turn and walk away and just leave. Don't follow it. Just leave it alone. Let it be on its way.
Let's see.
Oh, anyway, I am so sorry. I had a little coughing fit there. I apologize.
Okay.
Brenda, we could talk to you all night. I'm not kidding. I wish that we were all here in person so we could just sit up all night long and go with you every time you get a call. And it would just be amazing. Oh, my goodness.
Call Les Stroud. He'd love to be down there.
Yeah. But we've run out of time, Brenda. You've been an amazing guest. Thank you so much for finding time to come on our show. We're very honored to have you, and hope you'll come back again.
I sure will be happy to. Thank you for having me on.
It was our pleasure and our honor to have you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay. Everyone, it is time to say goodnight. It's been another great show, and it's been a great one. And we would like everybody to go to our Facebook, like us, share us, and we'll see you guys next week, same time, same chat station. So say goodnight, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night. Good night, Brenda.